Because she was bored and abandoned me for weeks, my wife admitted to cheating on me for 4 years. She wants me back now. My wife 39F and I 40M have been together for 17 years. Our girls are ages 11, 13, and 15. We were high school sweethearts and have been together for about 23 years. This is the only information I have. But I don't know much. My wife came home from work 3 days ago. She had to go for work on the 4th day, but not before hurriedly packing an overnight bag. I only know this because our oldest daughter was home when she departed. When she tried to talk to my wife, she was sobbing and upset that she could not speak. She was on the verge of a mental breakdown. She is not returning any of our texts or phone calls. I called her parents right away, and they eventually said that my wife is safe with them and asked me to have patience and understanding. That's all they said. I tried contacting her sister, brother, and a close co-worker. Her co-worker stated that she had arrived at work in the morning 3 days before, but had left by midday, while her brother asserted that he knew nothing. She was just aware that since then, neither my wife nor the kids have gotten in touch. Nobody is communicating with us. Here, with my 3 girls, I'm attempting to survive without her. When the children ask me what's happening or what happened with mom, I can only respond that she's with grandma and grandpa and that we should be patient and understanding. Without warning, I feel compelled to quickly load up the kids and go over there. Even though it's just 3 hours away, it's awful to be sitting here in limbo. The kids think we're divorcing after a furious dispute, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The children know that we never fight. I'm not sure what's going on, but could someone help give me a rational explanation? I'm attempting to manage everything without her, but I'm having trouble thinking clearly because of my current mental state. If someone passed away, you would notify your spouse first. If it were me, my wife would be the first person I would ask for help. We don't know anything. Although triggered, nothing makes sense. Uncertain of what to do, I sit here in limbo with the girls. We don't know anything, and no one is telling us anything. It causes me to feel nervous, scared, angry, etc. Almost every emotion conceivable in this situation. Could someone please come up with something reasonable? Why would you harm your family in this way? First update. I'm sorry, but I'm still learning a lot about Reddit. I don't really know how to do it, therefore I don't have anything to share. I'm not sure how to relate this to my earlier post. It was a long night, and I didn't get any sleep. I'm sorry for the quick update. I didn't intend to use the computer much today, but I did read every topic yesterday, and at the end of the night, we finally read the responses today. I'll just say what I know and be done in the end. I called the police, as many of you suggested. A wellness check was done last night because my father-in-law didn't call. My wife has been having an affair for at least 2 years, if not longer. I won't go into the maelstrom of issues that followed. Everyone was correct. According to reports, the other man passed away that evening following a heart attack on Tuesday. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law have probably been aware of it and have been covering for her. My wife has yet to communicate with me or the girls. I'm trying to keep this a secret from them, but I'm honestly at a loss for what to do. All I know is that it nearly spells my death. Thank you for all of your help and advice. I don't know how to go past this news, but that's all. Would you kindly pray for me and the 2 of us? Update. I was recommended this sub by a few folks. Since joining, I've been reading a lot of posts whenever I have free time, which is typically at night when the chaos of the day is finished. Then, of course, the brain takes over and I experience these moments of depression. Then I get really angry, and then I get both emotions at once. Sleeping is nearly impossible. I then go about my day as if I were a zombie. I'm trying to become familiar with all the acronyms. I guess my D-Day was Friday. It now seems very likely that my wife's affair lasted longer than the 2 years I initially thought it had. The man she cheated on with was someone she had known for a while. He tragically passed away from a heart attack after making the revelation. I carried on with my research with the help of my oldest daughter. I'm not yet prepared to write about a wide range of subjects. Sincerely, I didn't plan on continuing to publish about my situation, but I've received so much love and advice from so many people that it's almost therapeutic. It hurts to know that so many other people are experiencing this kind of suffering. I really apologize for it. I met with 2 separate lawyers yesterday and today to discuss my options. I also called a few times regarding therapy, but wait times are really long where I live. I'm trying to go by a lot of the advice that people have given me, like taking care of myself, exercising, and not drinking, even though I don't and never have. Although I'd say I'm in great shape for my age, I currently lack the enthusiasm to work out. Please understand that I'm just not ready to go into all of the details just yet, even though I know many of you will want to know who, what, when, and so forth. I just need some advice on one thing so that I might be able to get some sleep because it feels like a new bomb goes off every day. My dearest friend since high school and the mother of my 3 beautiful daughters, my wife, was everything to me. We exchanged inside jokes and secretly shook hands. It's all gone, everything, it's just gone. When I think back on every mile of our years together, I get terribly depressed. Every laugh and tone is incapacitating. She didn't appear to care about any of it, and she will no longer be in my future. Then, of course, the questions come up and I am filled with a voracious anger. I scream into my pillow and bang on the mattress till my arms hurt. It's a horrible cycle. I only go to sleep because I'm exhausted and the mind games resume when I wake up. I give all of my energy to my girls, who have been trying to take care of me as if they were my parents. After finding out about the affair, they don't receive fair treatment. With only your thoughts, how did you all sleep? How did you handle the nighttime solitude and emptiness? In all of this, I've decided that sleep must be my #1 priority, aside from my daughters. But I just can't, so I'm hoping you can assist. Thank you so much, everyone. Third update, I'm sorry for my relative lack of Reddit experience. It's been a little over a week since my D-Day. I'm not sure, though, how much about my situation I should restate. Since then, I've learned that my wife had an affair for nearly 4 years. Although a specific time window has not yet been established, it most likely started emotionally before turning bodily. How the epidemic and lockdowns impacted this is another thing that interests me. I may or may not learn the answers anyway. Yesterday, my in-laws suddenly visited their grandchildren. DW has been residing in their home from the beginning of this drama, which is completely absurd. They spent a total of 15 minutes greeting the females, of course, together with my wife. I have 3 daughters. Then they want to speak with me privately. The conversation was long, as you can imagine. I don't want to discuss it at length in this article. Anyway, my wife wants to go back home, but she can't face her past since she's afraid of the repercussions of her actions. In order to determine whether I plan to file for divorce, her parents also did a lot of study. They worked very hard to convince me to forgive my wife and keep the marriage together. They clearly felt humiliated and ashamed, but they also wanted my wife out of their house. It was a very courteous and polite conversation. I said that by telling them that I was unsure of my future plans because I planned to seek a divorce, I had misled them. But I worry that if I tell my wife, she might never understand and I won't ever know the truth. But I would like her to sit in front of me and explain everything if that's possible. After 17 years of marriage, dating since high school, having 3 kids, creating countless memories, and going through everything together, I want her to look me in the eyes and tell me everything. I also want my kids to know that I gave her the opportunity to apologize, give an explanation, and settle the matter as responsible adults. I'm always attempting to determine which option is best. For my kids, maybe I'm not doing things right, but I'm not sure. Legally, I can't be. The lawyer was very clear about that. As was my wife from our home, I therefore cannot prohibit my wife from returning home. Even if I truly don't want this at the moment, my girls and I have actually started to develop a nice routine. I consequently demanded something that I believed would be impossible to achieve. I told my wife she could come home provided she sat down with me face to face, looked me in the eyes, and told me everything about her affair from start to finish without hesitation or further lies. She would then have to meet with the girls, apologize in person, and answer their questions. I figure that since they already know, it's only fair. Again, she has no legal duties and can lawfully go back home whenever she wants. But I might be able to capitalize on her dislike of us. Is that wrong? I'm not trying to be sly or dishonest here. I just don't want to live together yet. In our state, there is a 90-day waiting period before a divorce can take place, if I may put it off. Either way, she'll come home eventually. Despite this catastrophe, life will go on. And eventually we will both have to go back to work. I only want to prolong it so that I can plan and enhance my mental and emotional health. My wife has been texting women even though she claims she doesn't want a divorce. She repeatedly expresses her regret to them. I've been seeing the texts. The truth of what she has done to us is really getting to her, especially in the last few days. And she asks me about me every day. How am I going to manage this? Was my request foolish? In all likelihood, my wife will return home sooner rather than later. I am currently optimistic about my future since I know it will happen someday. I'm not afraid of this. I just want to make the greatest decision for my daughters and then for myself as we move forward. I am appreciative of everyone who has been offering encouragement, support, and direction. Fourth update. I'm sorry this is so long, but I have to finish this. It will be somewhat of a letdown. My wife came home yesterday, despite the terrible weekend. It had a good deal of build-up as the week went on. I usually give her a hug and a kiss when she enters the doorway. But this time there was just this really weird tension between us. She actually came up to me and tried to give me a hug before she talked, but I pushed her away. Incredibly, as if nothing had happened, I pleaded with her to tell me everything, of course. She said again that she is not yet ready after she had calmed down. When we spoke over the phone earlier this week, the results were the same. She just said again that she wasn't ready for it. When I maintained that the only need for her to return home was that she loved the family enough to explain her absence of nearly 3 weeks. I took a few long breaths and tried to gather myself. I tried to stop myself from yelling at her, but I was unsuccessful. After the first of many long pauses, I said abruptly that she had been having an affair with a coworker for over 4 years, that she had no intention of leaving me for another man, that she had abandoned her entire family, and that she now comes into the room without fulfilling the one condition I had asked for, that I wanted a divorce. That's when the weirdness started. I guess her body language and facial expressions made it obvious that she didn't realize how much I knew about her affair. She looked at me with wide eyes, then just stood in the kitchen and stared at the floor. She was harsh and silent. This is quite different from what I was expecting. Maybe she would have a tantrum, make a tearful confession, or even yell and swear at me, accusing me of having the affair. Not this answer, but a grim "all right, let's sit down and work things out." I must admit that we must have stood in the kitchen for 5 minutes in utter silence. It was just the strangest sight I had ever seen. It was clear that neither she nor I could think of anything to say. I had read all of your comments and recommendations about my situation. I even took notes. Except for this one, I had braced myself for every possible outcome of this conversation. I finally decided to write down all I knew about her affair at that same moment as I was sitting in front of a mirror. Despite my ignorance, I informed her of what I knew. Even if I made some assumptions about how she had met the AP, her sister's involvement, what had happened during COVID, etc., she could only gaze at the ground. I was getting increasingly angry, since she didn't say anything, but I tried my best not to use foul language or raise my voice. Finally, I relaxed. There was another long, uncomfortable silence when it was all evident. Fury gave way to sadness. I then asked her politely what I had done to cause her to leave. Did she ever love me? Was it worth the AP? She didn't say anything, didn't move, and didn't move. She did nothing at all, including crying, apologizing, yelling, or providing an explanation. She just lowered her head and stood. Nothing. This hurt. This might have hurt more than D-Day. I stood there staring at her, unsure if I would have moved. Naturally, the situation worsened after that. Our girls were listening in on the entire exchange. I'm just incredibly stupid. I've been working really hard over the last several weeks to prioritize them and take care of their needs, but after I confronted my wife, I lost my temper and stopped caring about their whereabouts. With a great deal of pent-up anger, our oldest daughter screamed and stormed downstairs. After locking the door, my wife rushed to the bedroom. That is where we are now. I could hear my wife crying most of the night before I went to bed last night. The others have avoided her. Only our youngest has made an effort to speak with her. Until we can finish this, I'm going to suggest that she stay with her sister, the divorce. If I have the courage to file for it, she still calls this house home. Though, it will only be a depressing situation if we are all forced to live with her. About my wife. Regarding every year we shared, every memory, and every life-altering event, I was wrong. I assumed she would drop to her knees and beg for pardon. I genuinely thought she would come clean and take responsibility for everything that had transpired. Over the last 4 years, this woman, who once drove back to a farmer's market after discovering she had been given $10 more in change than she was supposed to, doesn't think we're worth it. Maybe I never was, but she doesn't value me. What follows? Today was day at home. It is obviously not possible, but the daughters and I tried to carry on as we had for the last 2 weeks. I just want to get over this whole thing, including the divorce, the awkward talks, and the upcoming conflicts, fights, and drama in particular. If you have kids, how did you manage living with your WS? I know this is just the beginning. I keep reading blogs that promise improvement, but at the moment, I'm not there. Every chance I get, I can't help but yell. I'm doing to keep the girls' minds at ease, of course. But I'm not sure if I can do it for the 3 months before this is all over. School will start. I guess this is my life now. I'm grateful that everyone is so interested in me. I would welcome any assistance you can provide me to get through this next phase, even if I'm not sure if the worst is over. Update number 5. I've been feeling very bad for my daughters ever since my WW came home, and I learned about her affair. I've been acting as best I can. Even if I try to think and talk appropriately, I have to face the truth tonight. As many of you mention daily, it comes in waves. But today I was hit with a really big one and got a little upset. Even though the divorce has been filed, my WW has not yet hired a lawyer. Again, I'm trying to be as understanding and patient as possible in this case because I'm starting to see the prospect of an uncontested divorce that we handle mostly on our own. But after tonight, I'm not sure, since WW works so close to our family home. She spends Friday nights at her sister's and Sunday nights at home. We have been living together all week, but her sister is an hour away if there is no traffic. Over the past few weeks, WW has mostly kept to herself, and the girls and I have been attempting to go about our everyday lives as usual. This has led to a practice of avoidance. My oldest daughter and my WW have stopped talking after a few heated confrontations. We have casual conversations every evening. It's for the best right now. In addition to what I've read, I've been heeding a lot of your counsel lately. I worked very hard at it, even though it takes all of my effort and resolve to keep my composure around my wife. I've been grieving and uninterested in our little chats. Although always being polite and respectful, she's come home from work the last 2 Fridays, packed up a few things, and gone to her sister's for the weekend before I've even gotten home from work. But not tonight. She was waiting for me in the kitchen when I arrived home. She grasped my hand gently and asked if I was going to treat her this way, because she wasn't ready to talk to me about her affair, even though I tried to ignore her tonight. By the way, this is the first time she has ever spoken about her adultery. Since everything went viral almost a month ago, I tried to just walk away and keep my mouth shut. I promise you, but I became upset because our girls weren't home at the time. After that, I let go of all my vices, pains, aches, rage, and sorrows. I left everything to her. I can't even recall how long I went on. I couldn't remember the time at all. At times, I did raise my voice and get a little animated and boisterous. All I did was cry and tell her how heartbroken I am, how much suffering I go through every day, and everything that has been bothering me and that I have been suppressing. I mean, this article would be 4,000 words long if I attempted to paraphrase what I said. Once I got going, I wasn't going to stop, of course. I started crying again and broke down. I felt angry with myself after this. I've been doing so well, damn it. She got to me, and I let her influence me. I knew it was going to happen. I knew. Terrible. It's been building for a long time, and there's only so much I can say in the waiting room. And for the first time, W actually started crying and getting emotional. I was shocked when she burst into tears, regretfully. I was thrilled to see that she was in the same anguish as I was. It was satisfying to see her cry at last, since it demonstrated that she had some empathy. Even though I wish I didn't care, she apologized multiple times, which surprised me. "I'm so sorry," she would mutter as I was erupting, sobbing horribly. But before she could compose herself to speak another word, I finally exited the kitchen. "Please don't bother me," I pleaded. That's what happened before returning to her sister's house. She stayed in the kitchen for a while, it's hard to hide. But when the girls arrived home after half an hour, they knew something had happened. I wasn't ready to talk about anything, and I don't think they ought to know that, do they? The two youngest have been doing much better, so I don't want to impede their progress. Additionally, I don't want to aggravate my oldest by telling her about this. I really hate this. I hate it. What I should have done was to be calm. I should have just walked right past my wife and ignored her. I'm not sure at the moment. It appears that she was only trying to bring up her affair but wasn't sure how to do it. I obviously blew up. So she didn't get very far. Now I really feel sorry for her. I don't want anything to happen to her. However, I know that a lot of you will criticize me for this. She has been alone with her thoughts because practically everyone is ignoring her. She is still a person and the mother of my children, even though it is true that she deserves it. What a blow. I feel a great deal of disappointment in myself. I'm sorry for the long tirade. I also called my brother and screamed at him on Monday. I'll try to start afresh. I'm only human, man. I have to say that venting to her felt amazing. But now I regret it. Should I ignore my wife or send her a text? I'm a whole mess. But thank you for listening, giving me the support I need to overcome this, and sharing all of your recommendations with me. In the midst of all of this chaos, we have all started treatment, but this is extremely, really tough, simply put, very challenging. Update 6. We appreciate your concern. I know a lot of you have reached out to me. Most of you were correct. I haven't had a chance to use the internet and things aren't going well. I had intended to take a break from the internet, but this week I've been regressing a lot. It's just been awful. In addition to crying, smothering me, and knocking on my door at night to talk, my wife has been incredibly sweet and has apologized for her infidelity this week. She hasn't really left me alone. I've generally ignored her, although I have talked to her when I felt like it. I finally snapped at her on Wednesday night and told her to quit harassing me. Then, once her affair blew up, it happened last night, a little over a month ago. My soon-to-be ex-wife came home. She entered my room after the daughters had gone to bed and pleaded to talk to me alone. Now that we've established this uncomfortable cohabitation routine, she had been approaching me all week. However, we eventually went to the garage and sat in my car so that we wouldn't make the same mistake twice in front of the children. I'm sorry for the long apology. She told me all about it. We were outside for around 3 hours. I listened to her sob all night long since I couldn't sleep after she remarked, I'm not sure how much to divulge. Once more, I let myself cry. Then I'd get so mad that I'd have to make myself not go in and scream at her, then anger, then sob, and so on. Before I try to sleep, I need to get this off my chest. So I apologize if I don't respond to anyone for a day or so. It hasn't helped that my wife is constantly apologizing and requesting another opportunity. I just had to get away from her for a few hours tonight, too. It was really painful to be around her. Anyway, her sister had introduced her to her AP around 5 years earlier, apparently without any romantic intentions. He wanted to work for the same company she currently works for, and was a higher up there. She was successful in persuading him that her desire to switch occupations had nothing to do with her affair. It goes without saying, though, that after switching jobs, she was more motivated. After she was hired, EAP began to flirt with her, first sending texts, then sending pictures, and finally sending more texts. Then, after admitting to her sister, she wanted to tell me immediately before things became physical, but she decided to keep it to herself. Naturally, my wife stated that she stopped communicating with her AP soon after. But as soon as the restrictions and lockdowns were lifted, he got in touch with her once more. She kept talking to him until the sexual side of the affair came up. Again, after companies reopened, she said she interrupted the affair a few times out of regret. But she kept going back to him, so it never ended. To put it simply, she gave a lot of information. She answered questions while she read out the entire 5-page packet of handwritten notes. Describing her history of affairs, she made up stories about her parents' issues, shopping trips, traffic jams, weekend getaways with the girls, and work-related travel. As I had anticipated, the list was lengthy. I simply believed anything she said without question since she told me so many lies. Even though hearing it all simply made me feel worse. They were only a front to be with him, everyone was correct, yet her love never really faltered. Despite all of this, she never turned distant. In contrast to what I often read, intimacy did change, but not enough for me to voice my worries, at any rate. She admits that she fell for her AP and wanted to live with him. He assured her of trips, opulent things, and all the things he could do for her. He was unmarried, divorced, and older. She claimed that she started to think about escaping her responsibilities to the family because the joy of being with him was too intense to resist. She said she was bored with the daily routines of family life. She very open, quite emotional and honest. I broke down and started crying halfway through. It was painful to hear it all, as you might imagine. She informed me, of course, that she loved me and always would, and that she would do whatever in her power to maintain the marriage after she had concluded her confession. Many of you were expecting this, but it all felt so fake to me, like it had been rehearsed. I've been with this woman for over half of my life, so I know when she's being shady. I was calmer than it matters if I'm wrong. However, I lost my temper and said some cruel things, including mocking her AP for having other girlfriends, of whom she was the only one he was willing to dump. That seemed to annoy her a little. I might say anything to her, or something I could say when I imagined this moment, when she would finally expose all the lies she had been telling online. I would say to hurt her back, but I had a million ideas. During the emotional moment, I was unable to come up with hundreds of responses. But I knew I would ask if AP were still alive and she had to choose between him and me. Which would she choose? After hesitating, she said, "That's not fair." I pushed the topic and she finally said, "Of course she would choose me." I responded by declaring that I was divorcing her since she was lying once more. That was the last thing she uttered before breaking down in tears. We sat in the car for a while. She kept crying, but I was tired. So I just told her that we were divorcing and that we owed it to the children to be there, to be good parents, and to get along. I also expressed my hope that she was a good enough person to settle our divorce in a fair and peaceful manner that would prove her genuine love for me after all the pain she had caused me. Please understand that I'm not a petty person, and that telling her that I had taken anything from another website was merely the appropriate way to end the conversation. I didn't mean to offend her, but I really did mean what I said and did. I leaned over to give her a forehead kiss and told her that I would have loved her forever. Then I got out of the car and went to bed. That was it. I'm having problems falling asleep tonight. Of course, because I didn't get much sleep the night before. I don't know what's going to happen. I guess the fact that she no longer has the opportunity to contest the divorce is a plus. But I haven't talked to my lawyer yet. I'm crying again, going back to being furious and miserable. Even if I could have avoided it all, hearing everything last night was incredibly tough. She might have fabricated, but it seemed to complement everything I had put together over the past month. And that's it for now. Seems to go on forever. After a few successful days, I feel strong once more. But then something else occurs. It feels like months have gone by. Even though it has only been days, I'll try to get some sleep though. Consider the scenario where your life's love, the only woman you have ever kissed and loved, tells you that she cheated on you for over 4 years out of boredom. She was simply bored and there were no relationship issues, dead bedrooms, falling out of love, growing apart, or anything of the type. That might make things better or worse, but I'm not sure. I appreciate you reading and helping. It was a terrible couple of nights. I appreciate you watching. Please hit the notification bell and subscribe if you haven't already in order to receive updates on more startling real-life stories that are happening in your area.